Good morning, everyone. I'm Elaine. Welcome to Elaine's Gardening and Cooking channel. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat this morning. I'm sitting back a little bit here because I'd really rather show you the plants and everything rather than you having to look at my mug. So anyway, the indoor winter garden room. What this is actually is just an old bedroom that's not being used. So what I have done is converted it into a growing area. You know, every time fall comes, I get so down and depressed because I know what's coming after winter. And of course, when winter comes, next thing you know, you're right up to here in snow. And if you live anything like me, you've got no place to put it. So, I mean, you can only shovel it or snow blow it for so long, and then you run out of places. Okay, getting on to the subject at hand here. I hope to have the chat area open. Just hang on a second here and I will see if I can set that into motion. There we go. Okay, so the chat is open. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post them there. If I can answer them, I will. If I can't, I'll let you know. Because I am no expert, okay? And I make no claims to be an expert. I've gardened since I was a teenager. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've had a lot of successes too. So I'm really kind of happy about that. And okay, the winter gardening room, because I thought it would help keep me from being down and depressed over the winter months, knowing that you can't go outside and garden, and that drives me up the wall knowing that. So, okay, right here under this light, I've got a starter plat. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but I will try. In there, you'll see some pots. Jiffy pots, actually, are what they are. And I have these planted with a variety of leaf lettuces. There's red lettuce, green lettuce, and oh gosh, the different cost lettuce stuff. That's from. In this pot here, I have some Swiss chard. I can show you that little pot. I just planted the seeds yesterday. You see that bit of brown stuff on the top? What that is ground cinnamon. And the reason that I'm using ground cinnamon on the top of the soil is cinnamon is a natural antifungal. And it's also quite commonly used as a rooting agent in place of rooting hormone powder. So, excuse me again. So that's the reason why I'm putting it on here, because if you take soil, like say from outside, bring it inside, quite often it will have a tendency, once it gets inside without your wind and stuff blowing around, it may threaten to get a bit fuzzy up top, you know, like get a bit of a fungal growth on there, and that you don't want. Okay, now here underneath the lamp, I'm rooting some basil. I took that out of the garden, snipped it off, and when you are rooting anything, just make sure if you're going to root it in water or if you're going to root it in soil, either way, cut the stem at a little bit of an angle, and that way it can soak up more of your water. Makes it easier on the plant. If there are any buds on there, when you cut this to root, take the buds off, because you want the good to go down to the area where you want your rooting to take place. Okay, so that's it for that. Now this is a cute little weed actually, but it's got a very pretty flower on it. It's starting to dry up now, but just like dandelions, it produces little tufty seeds that will blow through the air. And so I've planted some just for the heck of it. I'm going to see if they come along. Now, these bottles, these water bottles are amazing. You can use them for a great variety of things. In the soil, in the outdoor garden, I bury it, like I pierce holes in them, and then I bury them up to the neck so I can just put water in here, and then this feeds your plants from the roots instead of you watering directly down on them. Some plants don't appreciate being watered directly like that, and this is a good way of providing water for them. Now I can also use these as planters. I've done is just cut a hole in the side, I hope you can see that. Just cut a hole in the side there. You fill it with your soil and you put your little plant in. And they work very, very well. If you've got limited space, like you could grow lettuce in there, onions. I've got an onion down here that, just for the heck of it, I did that. Put some Dutch sets in there. It's only a few, but I mean, every little bit helps. And in the back here, I don't know how well you can see it from there, but in the back here, I've got a cucumber plant that was kind of sitting dormant. It wasn't doing much outside. We've had such a terrible spring and summer here in Muskoka. I literally refer to it as the spring and summer that never arrived. So these plants, as a result, have been sitting in the garden. They're not dying, but they're not growing either. And it's frustrating, you know, when you go out and you do your checks every day to see how the garden's coming along, and sure, shooting, they're just sitting there looking at you, kind of a thing. Other things grew not too badly. Now, my beets this year didn't do well, so I'm going to try to grow some beets in here. Not so much for the beets themselves, they will take a while, but for the beet greens, just for the greens. So, of course, we've got lettuces in here, like I mentioned. I've got some mint and tomato. The little Tom Thumb tomatoes, or Sweet 100s, actually, is what they are. I've got some of those in a little hydroponic unit. And it's kind of hard for me to show you the hydroponic unit because it's heavy, it's filled with water. But I have plants in there sitting in the water, and there's a little pump, you know, to keep the water circulating. In the back there, I have a pepper plant. It's got 3 peppers coming on it and more to come. So I rescued that from outside. And I've got that under lights as well in hopes that it will develop nicely. Okay, a friend on the gardening channel, it's Gardening Tips and Tricks on Facebook. A friend mentioned, would I be discussing herbs at all? Sure. Herbs are very, very easy to grow. Now this is a parsley plant that I brought in from outside. It's kind of leggy looking right now because, like I say, we've had so much rain, so much dull weather, not enough sunlight. It's grown leggy. So what I'm going to do is cut this back and let it grow back up again from the roots. You'll see there's some new growth starting there. That won't harm the plant at all. If anything, it will help it. So, I mean, these certainly you can use in your cooking, what you cut off, and then just cut these down, let them grow back, put them under the light, and it'll be fine for you. An awful lot of, oh dear, I just gave myself a bath with some, oh well, I'm sure I'll live. But anyway, with an awful lot of herbs, you can do that. You can just uproot the plant, pot it, bring it inside, and you can winter them over quite nicely that way. Other plants that you can grow from seed as well. Now, parsley is good to grow from seed. That's fine, but it takes a while to germinate. It takes between 17 to 21 days in a lot of cases. And if you've got them under lamps, well, you're going to get tired of waiting. So the next best thing I find is to just take a plant that you have established, bring it in, and let it grow that way. Carrots, I know another friend on the cooking, or excuse me, on the Gardening Hints Facebook page mentioned that he was growing celery, like taking the end of the celery, plunking it in the ground, and it would grow new celery. That's great. Now, bear in mind, it will not grow you a new celery plant, but it will grow you plenty of nice celery greens that you can cut, and it should keep coming for quite a while for you that way. But you can cut that and use it in soup, stew, salad dressings, all kinds of things, sauces. You can also do the same thing with a carrot. Take a carrot, cut the top off, plant your carrot top, and it'll grow all kinds of nice greens for you. Again, it won't grow you a new carrot, but it will grow you plenty of greens that you can use for whatever purpose, soup, sauces, anything that you want to use it for. Okay, that's pretty well about it there. Now, onions, I've got some onion seed here. This is burpee as well. And I get a lot of my seeds from burpee, from VZ's and Stokes. And the reason that I buy them that way is because if you buy the ones in the store, okay, burpee quite often you can buy in the store, but they're very dependable. VCs and Stokes are dependable as well. But quite often you'll buy some of these lesser known brands in the store and don't always have too good a yield. And the reason for that is quite often you don't have good seed. If you don't have good seed, you're not going to have a good yield. One thing I failed to mention to you, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can turn this a little bit without marring the picture. But this little guy right here, my brother gave that to me. It's an arrow garden. And you fill it with your water and then you add your nutrient. I use homemade nutrients because I don't like to put chemical nutrients in there. And it grows hydroponically. So it does a good job. Now, where was I? We're still on the subject of herbs. Okay, onions, yes, you can start them from scratch, but again, they take a little bit of a while to germinate. Nasturtium, a lot of people class that in the herb family as well. These seeds are from beesies, and they're beautiful. The plant is edible. The stems, the flowers, the leaves, they're all edible. They have kind of a mild, peppery type of a taste to them. They're quite nice. It's a very colorful plant. Now, I hope I have answered some of the questions regarding planting herbs. If I haven't, please put a little note on there on the group chat. Let me know. I'm trying to see what else I've got here. I've got a whole pile of seeds, and this is what I keep my seeds in. So as I come in here to plant, packet of whatever, you know. Now spinach. I love spinach. And I'm planning on growing some of that indoors as well. So this is from Johnny's selected seeds. I forgot to mention that earlier. My apologies. Johnny's seeds are good too. Very good. Now, what else have we got here? Okay. I have mentioned the lettuces. Now, cabbage. You could grow cabbages probably for the leaves indoors, but myself, I don't have the space to grow cabbage to a full head indoors. So if I grow cabbage at all, I would probably pick something in the cabbage family like bok choy. Like the mini bok choy, that only grows up about that high, and it's a fast grower. Radishes are pretty fast growing. They do, however, tend to take... If you don't have in your indoor, you might... It's whatever you want to do. Now, if you want to plant carrots, that's great. Just make sure that your container is deep enough so that you can develop your carrots. Keep them well lit, well watered, and you should do just fine. I use a coffee can quite often, an old coffee can, and I'll pierce holes in the bottom for drainage, put my carrot seeds in, and then just let them go to town. And of course, as the plants develop, I raise the light or lower the plant, depends on where I have it situated. Now, this desk drawer, this is an old desk that my dad had years ago. It's stayed in the family, oh gosh, for decades. This comes in so handy. Simple reason being, if I want to do something with a starter flat, for example, all I got to do is take it down, set her there. Works great. Then when I do whatever I'm going to do with the plant, here. It does a great job. Really does a good job. So, okay, I don't see any, so you'll probably be watching this after the show is finished. Cucumbers, yes, I'm going to plant some cucumbers from seed as well, because I kind of have my doubts about this plant, if it's going to produce or not. So I think what I'll do is start some indoors right from scratch, put them under the lights, let them grow that way, and see how they develop. Also, I have some, excuse my arm, in this little pot, I've got some wild rose seeds taken from rose hips. So I'm hoping If it doesn't, well, it's just an experiment. I'm just trying it out to see what it'll do. This is my first year actually for having an indoor garden in this house. I did have one years ago in a house where I lived in Bracebridge, in the basement, and it was all plastic, and just like this is. All my outside facing walls are all plasticed in. This one is not plastic, and the reason being it's facing another room. It's not facing outside, so it's not going to get the cold direct air in the wintertime. And if this room needs to be heated, then what I'll be using is the homemade candle heater. I know it sounds funny, but you can get the instructions on how to make them very easily on YouTube. The one that I made, I put it in a pan about yay big and about that wide. I put a couple of bricks on either side to help hold the heat in. And then I've got 3 clay pots. One large one, a smaller one, and an even smaller one again. And they're all nested in together. Then you put your candles. Mine's big enough that I can use 6. And it throws a good heat. Like, you're not going to feel a terrific amount of heat right at it. Like, it's not going to throw heat very well for the simple reason that there's no fan. There's no moving parts in it. However, what it does, it warms the atmospheric air. And it doesn't take too long before you know it, the room's warm. So if this room needs that, I can heat it without using any hydro. These lamps that I'm using for growing, they don't use much hydro either. They're all fluorescents. They don't use much. The Aero Garden, it doesn't use much. The little pump for the water circulation in the hydroponic unit, it doesn't use much either. So, now where were we? I get talking on all different subjects. Yes, the indoor garden that I had in the basement in a home we lived in Bracebridge. It was all plastic in, all the way around. And what I did, I watered it from the sump pump. We had this, that was in the corner where the sump pump was located. So I just took water from the sump, put it on the plants, and that worked great. Now for moisture in the air, what I did was take the clothes dryer, hooked up a hose to it, and vented the air from the dryer into the greenhouse area. Those plants, they just thrived. It was great. And I also made a pleasant discovery. I had a little frog and a tree toad that somehow had made their way inside. They loved it. They sunned themselves under the lamps. They went for a swim in the sump pump. They had it made, no problem at all. But it was great because they kept any flies and insect pests and stuff under control. Now, down there, I must admit, I was not growing vegetables. I was growing flowers down there. Flowers, flowering plants, that kind of a thing. Whereas in here, I'm going to be growing vegetables. So that's going to be a difference. But I'm hoping that this will keep me active and keep me happy over the winter months. I know every fall, as I said in the beginning of the show, I get very depressed because I know winter's coming, and I hate winter with a passion, even though I used to figure skate. Well, I can't now anymore because a good friend known as arthritis set in. So that lets that out. So I have to content myself with other activities, and gardening is certainly one of them, but it has helped the arthritis a lot. When you're, you know, outside digging and planting, and I built those raised beds myself, so that was good activity. Kind of enjoyed that. So, okay, I see no live viewers yet, so probably you will be viewing this later. Excuse me. If you have any questions that you want to ask after the show, please do post them on the Facebook page. That's Gardening Tips and Tricks. I will do my level best to answer you. If I cannot answer you, then I will find someone who can. Okay. People in that group, thankfully, this morning we reached over 11,000 members. And that's just astounding. I can't believe it myself, but it's just great. And we've got some great members there. We've got an awful lot of people who really know their stuff. They know a lot more than I do. So, ask away. There's no such thing as a dumb question on that page. Absolutely not. We're just one big happy gardening family. Okay, I hope I've answered your questions. I hope I've given you a little bit of insight into the winter gardening room. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, for now.